Hello, welcome back to my coverage of the 2024 Silk Road Mountain Race. This is day 2. Let's get over to map progress and see what's been going on in the race overnight. So if you remember yesterday, the lead riders had just got over Kyrgyzstan, and we're in the valley behind there. As you can see, most of the field now is over Kyrgyzstan and are in on the sort of longer descent back down from those higher mountains, just passing over the first kind of ridge line. Let me show you on Rubber GPS, it's a little bit clearer. If I put terrain on, you can see that there's this large ridge. I say large ridge, it's a big range of mountains that they cross, Kyrgyzstan being the high point, and then kind of going roughly downhill most of the way, another small pass. To be fair, a small pass in Kyrgyzstan is probably like a fairly substantial pass in Europe, but probably only half an hour climbing. That's a short pass in Kyrgyzstan. So yeah, gradually going downhill back to some kind of civilization with a few resupplies. So a lot of the riders now are in this valley here before the climb back up to Songkhul, to CP1, on next to Songkhul Lake. And as you can see from the bottom here, it's quite a large plateau. The pass up and over and then onto the plateau before descending down the other side after the checkpoint. So before I go any further, I just have to thank, as you know by now, if you've been watching my coverage, Redshift for sponsoring all of this race coverage. I used their Shock Stop Pro seat post last year in the Silk Road Mountain Race. There's some pretty rough dirt roads. Actually, I'll come on to it in a second, as the lead riders are going to be on a particularly rough section at the moment. And I think a few riders are using these. I'll do some bike checks in a few days. I know for a fact Joe Nation's running one of these posts. Just means you can sit down over the bumps, and it really does save you energy over time if you're riding a hardtail. Obviously, you could ride a full suspension bike, which is very comfortable, but yeah, it's a bit of a compromise on packing space. So this works really well. So yeah, check those guys out. I've got a discount link below in the description, so have a look there. And yeah, thanks for the support as always. So let's have a look, see what's actually going on in the race situation now. So we've got a new leader, but as I said, it's still very early days, day 2, so we can't take this too seriously, but we've been through the first night now, so we just need to see how it starts developing. But I think we're starting to get a bit more of a picture of the sort of top 10, 15 of the race. And currently leading is Rufus Wenlock from New Zealand, a friend of Joe Nation's. He's actually riding a quite interesting bike, which I want to talk about when I do the bike checks. He wasn't actually the first to the checkpoint. The first person there was Omar Matello. We'll check out the kind of the sort of run and ride rate later, but he didn't actually sleep. I think he's pretty much one of the only riders in the field who didn't sleep before he got to the checkpoint. Got there about 20 minutes before Marin Distant-Exbury, who, as you remember, was leading last night. But he stopped for a couple of hours sleep. So I suspect Omar, he's going to have to sleep. And this is a kind of race where I think missing night's sleep does really catch up with you later on. So it'd be interesting to watch Omar. I don't know an awful lot about him, but I've been told he's pretty quick. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Dan Marsmans, he was first over Kyrgyzstan. He's in second. He had a good sleep as well. And Marin, he also slept for a few hours. He's in fourth. Other riders who I was going to keep an eye on. Well, Manuel Druchello, he's done well in a couple of these events, so he's up there. He started a bit slowly, but seems to have got up to speed. No bad thing in this race. And Joe Nation, again, keeping an eye on him. He's been third in Tour Divide. He's won a couple of these things. He's in 8th, so he's starting to move back into the field. I suspect he'll be ahead of Manuel and possibly Tom in the not too distant future, because they're on a massive downhill. He used to race enduro, so I suspect he's going to get a lot of speed there. I also suspect that's why Rufus is made a bit of a gap now as well, because he also does a lot of mountain biking. So yeah, downhill skills, they do add up. Our first Kurd rider, Max Cherkasov, ahead of Vlad, about 30k ahead of Vlad Podofedov. So yeah, good guys. Good to see they're taking the race seriously and racing hard. Angus Young, I was expecting him to be higher up in the field, but it sounds like he's got sick. He got sick last year as well, and he seems to have been sick on the first day. I'll show you some social media soon with him kind of explaining what's happened. But yeah, keeping healthy is key on the Silk Road mountain race. Very easy to get sick. You've got to treat all your water with chlorine. I learnt this the hard way last year. I was sick on my first night in Kyrgyzstan, and luckily this was a week before the race. And after that day, I treated everything with chlorine, and then I was okay. There's a lot of livestock in these hills and mountains. A lot of shepherds, a lot of sort of farmers who are nomadic. They move around. They bring their yurts up to high pastures in the summer. So there's animal excrement everywhere. It's amazing how much excrement there is around. So it's in all the waterways. So you just have to be careful. You have to wash your bottles. You have to treat everything. So it's a shame to see that Angus has been caught out. But hopefully it's early on. It sounds like he's kind of eating again, and hopefully had a good sleep. He's at the checkpoint as well, so he can get a good meal in and get his energy back up. And it's not the end of the world at all at the moment. It's maybe it's probably half hour, 40 minutes ride across the plateau there, and then a quick drop down. So these guys in the front, they would have really gained. So you'll see that gap close down when they hit the next big pass. And the section they're on now is really slow. So yeah, going to be interesting to watch that. And our first woman is still Hannah Simon, it looks like. Is she at the checkpoint? Let's see if we can find Hannah. Oh, she's on the climb up to the checkpoint. Oh no, she's on the ridge now. So she should be at the checkpoint in the next sort of hour and a half. I would have thought. So let's have a little look at the video. I'll go back to ride with GPS because it's a little bit clearer where these riders are. So I showed you a video of Kageti yesterday. Songkul Lake, it's a high altitude lake. We're talking about, it's about just under 10,000 foot. It's at 3,000 odd meters, 3,200 meters. And it's a pretty spectacular place. So obviously I did this last year, going in reverse over this section. So here's a quick kind of landscape of what the rider's going to see. This was dawn. You could see a few kind of rain clouds floating around. So far, from what I gather on social media, it looks like the weather's been pretty favourable. So yeah, no real danger of getting stuck in a storm so far. And then the checkpoint's just in a yurt. I stayed in the yurt. This was my only time inside. That's Lucas Clement, who's I'll check where he is in a minute. I was expecting him to be higher up. He's we stayed in a yurt last year. Probably the worst night of my life in the race because it was so warm in there, and I slept outside the rest of them. And then this is the descent down from the other side. Obviously, I was climbing up this last year. The riders would be going down really fast, and you can see it goes right down in the valley in the background there. Probably a good half hour, 45 minutes, coming right up from the mountain ahead. You can see, and it's well driven by 4x4s. It's quite a big touristy area. Well, in Kyrgyzstan terms. So yeah, quite a fast descent, not too many rocks to hit or anything like that. So yeah, a nice respite, and then onto the next section. And basically we just break this down by climbs. Go along this river valley. Last year it was really hot, nearly 40 degrees. Although they're hitting the evening there, so it'd be slightly easier for the leaders. And there's a couple of resupplies. I stopped at this shop last year. It's a tiny shop, not really much. I think I had popcorn for lunch because that's what they had. Didn't even have any bread. And this little town here, there's a little cafe and a convenience store that I stopped in last year as well. You kind of have to take opportunity to buy food where you can here, especially after going into this next section. The riders, they might get to Kazaman tonight, but there's a couple of quite long climbs. You can see them here. They look small in the grand scale of things, but that first climb there is going to be a good hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours climbing. And then you've got these little rollers, and it's quite soft gravel as well. Real loose, unless it's been graded, but even so, it was just, there was stutter bumps. It's going to be a tough one. So yeah, the lead riders might get to Kazaman, but then whether they can get a guest house or not, I'm not sure. They might even the shops might be shut. They got 6 hours till midnight. After that, I suspect things will be shut. So yeah, if we go back to the map, it's gonna be tricky. They're probably better off sleeping here, having 4 hours sleep, and then trying to get resupply in the morning, because this next section there's not an awful lot either. And again, it's quite it's just slow going, sort of deep gravel tracks. Let's just put the wind layer on Ride GPS and see what they're riding into. It's obviously the new feature. So yeah, they're going to be riding this section into a headwind as well. It's going to suck, but then they should get the tailwind tomorrow. Because I did that to a headwind last year and it was rubbish. It really was, and you can see the wind's quite strong in this valley. It must just sort of funnel up between the mountains because there's mountains to the north and mountains to the south. So yeah, that's a little bit of what the riders are going to be experiencing over the next couple of days. Let's go into some social media and see what's been going on out on the. So first up, Angus Young. Now I already said that he was struggling a little bit with sickness. So he put this post out. I was wondering why I dropped off the pace so much yesterday, but this is what he had to say.
So quick update from me on Silk Road. I was ill. Yay. Yeah, almost exactly the same as last year. Although, well, I'm feeling a bit better now. But yeah, I was spewing yesterday evening and then into the night. So I got about 6 hours sleep from 9 p.m. to 3. It's been fairly chill this morning. Just found a shop for some food, which should help. And the good sign is that I'm able to get the food down, so hopefully it stays down. Yeah.
So there we go. Angus suffering with sickness. Hopefully he sorts it out. Like I said earlier, it is early days still. So if he can get to the checkpoint, get some proper food in him, take it easy for a day or so. There's still, he's not out the race by a long way, and he's a strong rider. So let's see how that goes. Next up, this is the official Silk Road mountain race Facebook, Instagram page. So yeah, first rider to the checkpoint was Omar, as already said. So he rode for about 20 hours on no sleep. Marin arrived 20 minutes later with a couple of hours sleep in the bank. And then third was Rufus. Planned to ride 2 big first days to be able to sleep low down later on. Is working for the moment. Obviously, when he's saying low down, he means altitude wise. Sleeping high up isn't ideal. So he's obviously got a bit of a plan. Let's keep an eye on him and see how that pans out. So he may drop off a little bit, or he may sort of be right up there and then slide back. But then the low down sleeping might benefit him later on. But it'd be interesting to see. He's obviously got some strategy. So the first and the 10th rider are less than 2 hours apart, which is absolutely nothing in Silk Road terms. You get stuck by a storm, you can get stuck for like 3 or 4 hours, and they've not hit the really high altitude or the really high sustained altitude yet. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out, and I look forward to seeing it. So that's Omar inside a yurt there. These are the yurts at the checkpoints, and that's the kind of food you can get at a checkpoint. To be honest, I outside of checkpoints, I'd just eat packaged stuff or bread and cheese from shops. I don't want to risk getting sick. So yeah, the checkpoint stuff is normally pretty good, but local restaurants, I mean, you're not going to touch the meat. Try and just eat vegetable stuff, because yeah, hygiene is not the same, and refrigeration out in the wilds of Kyrgyzstan is not what our weak Western stomachs are used to. And there's Marin de Saint-Exupéry in second there. So yeah, that is the guys at the first checkpoint. That's Rufus. And so yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and see what else pops up on the Silk Road feed. On their stories, so this looks like Kygeti yesterday. As you can see, there's a few kind of hiker bike bits. This is your typical shop. So there might be a freezer and stuff, but there's not much in there. That looks like the cheese. It's barely cheese. It's quite plasticky. I ate a lot of it last year. Yeah, looks hot. Probably 30 plus degrees, 35, nearly 40 degrees down in the valleys. Can be minus 10 up high at night, especially when it's clear. And yeah, so it's a race of extremes, and it's definitely one to challenge you. It's not all about pedaling this race. That's Kyle Hops. He's a strong rider. I expect him to come through quite strongly later on. That's going up the Kygeti Valley, and you can see the climb right in the far distance is where these riders are going. And yeah, it's a long old climb, and this is the summit. I think, yeah, that's the side they'll be riding up, and then obviously I showed you yesterday some video of the sketchy descent. It's spectacular, really spectacular up there, and it looks like a lot of riders stopped and camped before they headed over the pass last night. So yeah, pretty cool to see, and definitely be keeping an eye on the race over the next few days. So thanks for watching. Tune in again tomorrow. We'll have day 3 update. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.